What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the man, the myth, the legend, RizGod, Riz God, baby, bringing you what? The 6th episode of the RizPod, where we talk everything sports. And in today's episode, we're talking about the NBA trade deadline. It is NBA trade deadline day. It just finished 5 hours ago. Madness, insane, everything you can imagine happened today, and I'm excited to talk about it. And I got two brand new guests to the pod, and I can't wait to introduce them to you guys. So first off, we're going to be bringing Mr. Adam. Adam, what's going on?
Hey, Riz, man. We're happy to be on the RizPod, man. Been looking forward to it all week. Get on the hottest new podcast in sports. And then the Kelsey said no, so I'm here, bro. And we're chilling. We're ready. I'm ready.
You know what? I'm glad to know that I was second behind Travis Kelsey
Always.
and the Kelsey
Always.
Bros. So it's great. It's good to have you. And
sure.
to complete the trifecta, we go all of us back since we were 14 is Mr. David. David, what's going on?
Hey, what's good, Riz God? Pleasure to be on the show. I mean, my agent was also reaching out to Kelsey, but couldn't get back. You know, Super Bowl week, kind of busy. But hey, I'm super hyped to talk the trade deadline with you guys. So,
and I'm excited to know that the Kelsey Bros, you know, the NFL script went correct, so I can have both of you guys on the trade deadline podcast today. So I'm excited to get it started. I'm excited to do it. Lot to talk about. Really, before we get into just all the trades, I'm going to go one by one with you guys. If you had one word or a couple words to describe this year's trade deadline, what would you go? Ad?
Oh, just madness, man. Complete chaos. That's
Dave.
Crazy period.
Active. The block was hot.
For me, I got to go, wow. A lot of superstars moving, a lot of teams really improving. I feel like the last couple of years we've had some big players move, but now it's like it's really heating up, which I'm excited to talk about. A lot of trades happened not only today, but just in the last week. I think somewhere around like 20 plus. A lot of garbage players, a lot of picks, and then a lot of superstars. But the first draft acquisition, not accusation, no one's really getting accused of anything besides Kyrie Irving. Speaking of Kyrie Irving, the man, the myth, the legend back in Brooklyn got traded to Dallas for Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith. I'll kind of take the charge on this because I'm really excited to talk about this. Granted, my favorite player in basketball, which not only do you guys know, but everybody in the pod knows, is Luka Doncic, the young stallion, Mr. Him himself. Made it to the Western Conference Finals last season, really having such a star-studded season this season, averaging like 33, 9, and 9, almost a triple-double. Could be the MVP if it wasn't for Nikola Jokic, but never really had that second in command. Spencer Dinwiddie was good, Jalen Brunson was good, but there's no Kyrie Irving. So how are we feeling with Kyrie Irving now going to Dallas? Obviously, Dallas picking up Kyrie Irving and losing Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith. Who would you say won this trade? How are you feeling about the Dallas Mavericks' chances now in the West, as well as the Nets' decision to move on from Kyrie Irving? Ad?
Yeah, I mean, first with Kyrie, man, it's been a journey. Okay, I just want to make this point real quick. He has basically dictated the NBA for the last 5 years. Everything that Kyrie has done, every move he's made has led to where we are in the NBA. First, leaving Cleveland with LeBron. He sets everything in motion there. LeBron ends up leaving Cleveland, going to the Lakers, winning a ring. Kyrie goes to Boston. Nothing happens there. All that stuff. Then eventually gets KD to leave the Warriors, come to Brooklyn, join him there. James Harden comes, sets up everything else. And now we're here. Brooklyn, they did pretty well, honestly, for what the situation they were put in. I think they got a pretty solid return. Obviously, Cam Thomas is now the MVP. So we'll see how that goes. But in terms of Dallas, I'm not super convinced it's going to work. Honestly, I think he'll be pretty good. Obviously, he'll be good. Him and Luka can play hero ball in the playoffs. The depth is kind of lacking now. The defense is kind of lacking now. But if they can go 2-man in the playoffs, then they'll be good. I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking.
Yeah, Dave, your takes?
Okay, yeah, similar lines along to you. I definitely think the defense is lacking there, but anytime you get two superstars in the league, you're doing some damage, especially in the playoffs when the game shrinks. But defense matters too, and so does depth. A guy like Dorian Finney-Smith, he could guard 4 positions. Dinwiddie, he's a heck of a point guard. That's not a shabby return. And you also get a pick back if you're Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn did off pretty well, and for the first domino of the trade deadline, that's a good move. I was low key expecting them to flip Dinwiddie and Finney-Smith for maybe more picks if they were gonna go full on into the rebuild, but can't complain if you're them. They got a haul of picks with the other trade. This was just the preamble. But
Yeah, I think to kind of carry on to the conversation, I'm more so on the line that I do think this could work out. I think someone that watches a lot of Mavericks basketball, the way that they are constructed, the way that Jason Kidd runs this offense, it's really just Luka, 5 out, holds the ball for whatever, 15 seconds, kick out to a spot-up shooter, or kick out to down low for the alley-oop. Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson was always a pretty good second option for the Dallas Mavericks. Now you have someone like Kyrie Irving that's inputted into this offense. He's just going to be Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie, but just 20,000 times better. So I think they can work. What worries me is the lack of Dorian Finney-Smith, right? Like, obviously, Dorian Finney-Smith is not this all-star caliber player, but he can guard 4 positions. So essentially, shipping him out is saying Josh Green and all these young players like Maxi Kleber's not young, but like Josh Green along with all these other players need to step it up. Tim Hardaway needs to step it up. Josh Green, Maxi Kleber, all these guys need to step it up for Kyrie. I think if some of these trades that didn't happen past the deadline didn't happen, I think Dallas very much so would have been a favorite to come out the West, but just all these other deals that are happening, I don't know. I'd like to see, like you said, Adam, I think hero ball is something that can easily happen. I think Luka's tired, give it to Kyrie. Kyrie, boom, boom, pow. Kyrie's tired, give it to Luka. I don't think there's going to be chemistry issues there because I think the misconception with Kyrie is he can't play with anyone. He's a terrible locker room chemistry guy. And like, I feel like he just causes drama for the front office instead of his teammates. Because I feel like every teammate that Kyrie's ever had, they all love him. Like LeBron, Kevin Love, KD. Like, I don't know. Cam Thomas just said, like, Kyrie's his big bro. Like, I think he's not more so like a cancer in the locker room. He's just hard to manage in the front office kind of sense just because of the drama he brings outside of it. So I think they'll work together. I think Brooklyn, and this is a hot take I'm going to make here. I think Brooklyn has a good future in a sense. Like, I don't think they'll be bad for years to come if they keep this core because they're arguably the deepest team in the league. Like, you don't have stars besides Cam Thomas because he's the best point guard in the NBA in the last 3 games, averaging like 43 points or whatever bullshit he's averaging. But their depth chart is insane. You got Dinwiddie, Cam Thomas, Seth Curry, Joe Harris, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, Ben Simmons, Nick Claxton, Yuta Watanabe. Like, I could keep going, but they're all like Patty Mills, Edmund Summer. Like, they have a pretty deep team. And if they can be well coached, pass the ball around, and be effective, I think they could take one of the top teams in the East to 7. That's my hot take. I don't think they're going to be an easy beat in the first round, and we'll continue more because I didn't list 2 big acquisitions they just got for another superstar, but we'll continue that once we get there. So I think Dallas, great for Dallas, gives Luka some help. Great for Brooklyn. You get Spencer Dinwiddie, who's making his return to Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You actually took one of my hot takes, Riz, because I think the Nets can win a playoff series. That was going to be my hot take. But it depends on who they play and all that stuff. And I'll also say this, Kyrie does not need the ball in his hands to be successful in the NBA. So he can play off the ball really well. So I think that'll complement Luka a lot. But yeah, defense is really the main concern there.
And just to kind of counterpoint that, just because I don't want it to go unnoticed, they went to LA against Kawhi and Paul George and held Kawhi to 18 points, Paul George to 20 points, and ended up getting the win. It was a low-scoring game. Kyrie did his thing. Like, I think the defense is getting a little over exaggerated just because, Kyrie's not and Luka are not meant as defenders. But the Mavericks play at such a slow pace anyways, with Luka and Kyrie being such ball-dominant players. Like, they control the pace of the game. So as long as Josh Green steps up and just the overall, like, they play a lot of zone defense too. As long as they all communicate, I think they'll be fine. I just don't know how they'll match up against a Warriors or just another team with like 3 superstars. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, would have loved to see them trade for a big.
Yeah, for sure. So
Get deeper
fine,
there.
final thoughts. How do we feel? Do the Dallas Mavericks have a chance with Kyrie, or is this just a rental that's not going to work out?
Dave, I'll let you go.
Personally, I'm selling on this experiment. I think another reason that you traded for Kyrie and gave up the pick is you expect him to sign the extension. And, he's been a little unpredictable lately, and who knows if he's going to take a 2-year offer. There was word that he was asking around 4 years, 198, which was the max, but, it's so unpredictable.
Yeah, I agree. I think Luka's good enough that he can take a team to the finals by himself. Will he with Kyrie? I just don't know. I'm not trusting Kyrie again. I feel like every fan base in the NBA has made this mistake at this point. And
And speaking about not trusting a player for a fan base, let's go over to another big trade.
Oh, yeah. What a segue.
This is going to go over to David's Los Angeles Lakers, making a pretty big move with one-time MVP, 3-time triple-double season average leader, Russell Westbrook. If you asked me 4 years ago when Westbrook was a top point guard in the league, if he'd be shifted to 4 teams in 4 years, I'd be like, you're insane. And here we are. Westbrook got traded to Utah. The Timberwolves traded D'Lo over to the Lakers. He's making his return to the Lakers. We got Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt from Utah going to the Lakers. And then obviously we got Mike Conley and some, throw-ins going over to Minnesota. So, Dave, I'll let you kind of take the reins given that this is your team. How do you feel with Westbrook now leaving and the Lakers adding all this depth?
I don't know if you could tell by my grin, Riz, but I'm feeling pretty optimistic about this trade. Now, obviously, Lakers got a lot of ground to make up in the West, but you need depth and you need shooters. D'Lo, great shooter, great facilitator. Beasley, catch and shoot. He's a sniper out there. Vandy, that guy is a defender in the trenches, and he could rebound with the best of them. And, it adds a little dog to the team. So I think that this was an important move. Westbrook was an obvious question mark fit next to LeBron when they made the trade in the first place, and it kind of hamstrung them for a year financially. I think the Lakers did a great job not giving up too much. They only gave up 1 pick. It's top 4 protected, and it immediately conveys to a second rounder if it ends up falling in the top 4 in 2027. And who knows what's going down there for the Lakers. So I think it was a great move all around. You had depth. The Lakers addressed some key needs. Westbrook is probably going to get bought out by Utah. I'm sure the Clippers will come call in. The Heat might come call in. Like, the buyout market's going to be active, especially with all the trades that went down today. And Minnesota did solid getting somebody who was comfortable with Rudy Gobert already in the system in Utah. And he's a good veteran presence, which I don't know if D'Lo was that for the team. So, and he doesn't need to be that veteran presence for the Lakers. And he's a good fit and can play off ball with LeBron, or he can even take the reins facilitating. And it's a really good trade all around for the Lakers. I think the Jazz did well picking up a pick, and kind of questionable for Minnesota, but, Conley is comfortable with Gobert, and that matters.
Yeah, add your take.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to disagree with there. I think that was a pretty spot-on take. I will say I'm disappointed that we skipped over the Dwayne Dedmon to San Antonio trade before that, but that's okay. That's a topic for another time. Yeah, I think honestly, the Lakers did pretty well here. I think D'Lo is going to be a super underrated get. Like Dave said, I really don't have much to add. He's going to facilitate pretty well. He doesn't need to be ball dominant, but he can take some of the load off LeBron. And I mean, Westbrook, I was one of the biggest Westbrook supporters out there just when everyone was giving him crap, and like just his statistical dominance didn't lie.
I will say I appreciated his effort and him coming out and showing up for his job every day. He was great.
Yeah, not a bad thing to say.
And he was frustrating, but man showed up.
Yeah. I will say not to cut you off, to commend Westbrook, like we've been talking about, he was a professional. I think a lot of superstars in his role would have been a diva. They would have been like, why is Austin Reeves and Patrick Beverley starting over me. I'm a walking triple-double. He got shifted to the bench and was honestly still averaging, 17, like 8 and 8. Regardless of all the hate he's getting, is Westbrook a winning basketball player? I think it's proven that you can't really win anything with Westbrook, but he plays the game hard and he's a professional, which I give him respect.
Nothing but love for Westbrook, man. Nothing else to add there.
Yeah, and I think my take on it, I think the Lakers, I got to give them like credit, and I don't really think this was a GM move at all. Like, I got to give Rob Pelinka his credit here. I think what he's done in this trade deadline, first off, like a couple weeks back, getting Rui Hachimura was a great pickup, and now you're getting depth. The Lakers need depth, and everybody should know when you play with LeBron, you need shooters. When LeBron was in Miami, you got Shane Battier, you have James Jones, you have Mike Miller, you got all these guys. Then you go to Cleveland, you got Kyle Korver, you got J.R. Smith, you got all these guys. LeBron with the Lakers has never really had shooters. And what's the thing that you need to go get? Shooters. You get Westbrook, who is a great player statistically. Like, he's going to put up those stats, but he just doesn't really fit in today's NBA. You get D'Lo, who a lot of people forget. Like, D'Lo is good. Like, D'Lo is, I think, a B-tier NBA player. Like, when he was in Brooklyn, he led that Brooklyn team to the playoffs. He was a dog. Then he went to Golden State, put up numbers, and they traded him in Minnesota. Before they got Anthony Edwards, like, D'Lo was good. But now Anthony Edwards is obviously the key of that team. Like, he's going to do everything. They don't really have the needs for D'Lo anymore, which is fine. D'Lo can shoot the ball, he can assist, and he can play off the ball. And I think that's perfect what LeBron needs. Needs a point guard that can shoot it. D'Lo does that. Malik Beasley is one of the best catch-and-shooter players in the league, and I think he kind of fits that J.R. Smith role. Like, I think he's kind of a nut in a sense where, like, he'll take 5 to 10 threes a game. But you need that J.R. Smith guy that's going to be a microwave, that's going to come out hot, and that's what the Lakers need. Check on that. They need depth. They need defense. Jared Vanderbilt will do that because street clothes, glass knees, Anthony Davis clearly can't be relied on. So with Jared Vanderbilt there just filling another role, like you said, David, he's going to be in the trenches. He's going to go get rebounds. Like, he's a dog. And for what the Lakers got in return from this deal to really just getting rid of Westbrook, like, I think it's great. Conley is going to the Timberwolves, which I think is good because Conley's that veteran presence. He can dish the ball. He's a good shooter. Anthony Edwards will take the reins. It's crazy to think that the Timberwolves gave up literally their entire future for Rudy Gobert, and it's just really not working. And you got Kyrie Irving, you got KD, you got all these other people getting shifted around for a lot less than Gobert. So I feel bad. I hope Anthony Edwards, gets a team around him. But more on the Lakers. This is such a huge W for them. Do I think they're going to win the chip? Absolutely not. But I can see them making a run if LeBron goes 2018 LeBron James mode. So I think it's a good trade for the Lakers.
Yeah, and for Utah and Danny Ainge, we trust because he's
the guy just goes to he just goes to a franchise and gets 30 draft picks for them.
Yeah,
he's fleecing people.
Speaking about fleecing some draft picks, I want to go to the next blockbuster of this NBA trade deadline, and that's to that other guy out there in Brooklyn. It's Mr. Easy Money Sniper going to Phoenix. 1:30 a.m. Everybody's in bed. Everyone's sleeping. You know who's not sleeping? Woj and Sham going out there, dropping bombs. I'll post it in the group chat. Katie got traded. Everyone's like, bro, it's 1:30. Shut up. I'm like, no, he got traded. Absolutely nuts. I kind of just want to touch up on this. 2 years ago, if that, the Brooklyn Nets had Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden. They were destined to be the best team of all time. 100%, in my opinion, they had the 3 best offensive skilled players for a team to ever. Like, it was insane. And the fact that KD was an inch away from leading his team to the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference Finals rather, and possibly winning the chip is still insane. And to know 2 years later, none of them are on the team and they're left with Ben Simmons is pretty insane. I'm kind of going to let you guys take the reins on this. I'll finish my thoughts after, but KD to Phoenix, if KD was to get traded, was this one of the teams that you saw him getting traded to? Do you feel like Phoenix gave up too much for KD? What do we think about his chances with the Suns? Are they the championship favorites? I'll let you take it.
Oh man, that is a lot to ponder on. Yeah, I mean, I've got thoughts for all of it. Let's see what order they come out in. So yeah, KD to Phoenix. I thought, yeah, I mean, just based on reporter and all that stuff, that was where I thought he was going to go if he left. I wasn't super convinced he was leaving Brooklyn, though. I thought he might stay. He had time left on his contract. Didn't really make sense for Brooklyn to get rid of him unless they had to, and it seems like they had to. Staying on Brooklyn, I guess. The return, fantastic. Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, 4 first rounders. They're, like I said, I think Brooklyn could win a playoff series this year. They're kind of set in terms. They just really are missing a superstar, maybe 2, which they had. But yeah, I think they did pretty good job given the situation. Nothing really else to say on Brooklyn. But for going to Phoenix, yeah, if they don't win the West, it's a disappointment for sure. I'm not entirely sure they will. They wouldn't be my pick at the moment. Let's see how everyone plays together. There's injuries. I think it'll really boil down to whether Chris Paul can still be Chris Paul and facilitate everything, because you have 2 of the best scorers on the planet, and then a big man who is very capable when you get him the ball in his hands. So yeah, I think it's really going to come down to Chris Paul and how he can keep everyone in check. I think this is perfect for KD's, needs. Just going into a place that is kind of already set up with culture. He did the same thing with the Warriors, worked out great. Obviously, better players there. But yeah, I think him trying to build something himself was maybe not as easy as this. Someone called him a mercenary earlier. I like that he just comes in and kind of delivers championships or delivers great performance in teams. Not worried about him fitting in. He'll get right to it. I think it'll just be whether they can put it all together in time.
Yeah, and I like what you say, what you said there, because I totally agree. Kevin Durant has always been criticized and scrutinized for not being that alpha dog personality. He can't really lead a team, which I mean he did in OKC. He did it in Brooklyn, but obviously he's had no success there. But when you put him aside a whole bunch of superstars, he will be the best player on that team, but he won't be the leader per se, right? Like you have the Warriors, you had Draymond Green, you had Steph Curry. Now he's going to the Suns. He's got Chris Paul there. I will make the hot take, and then David, I'll let you kind of finish this off. I think the Phoenix Suns, if everyone in the NBA is healthy, right? Like we're talking about everyone healthy, no injuries. The Phoenix Suns to me are the championship favorites. I look at the landscape of the NBA, and I just don't know who is guarding this Phoenix Suns team. You got Chris Paul, who is one of the clutchest players in the NBA. Doesn't even need to score. He's going to pass everybody the ball. He's going to set everybody up. Whatever. He's still pretty good in defense. You got Devin Booker, who's one of the best scorers in the NBA. Honestly, I am a certified Devin Booker hater. I hate the guy. I genuinely do hate him. I think he's a bum. But that's just my hater energy coming out. I think Devin Booker with Kevin Durant is going to be elite. He can pass the ball. He can put the ball in the hole. I said it so many times in this podcast, not this one per se, just in RizPod in general. I don't think Devin Booker makes people better, but Kevin Durant will make Devin Booker better. And with Kevin Durant there, obviously with Chris Paul, they all help each other so much, and they all don't even need to do anything because all it takes is just a little in and out, take it to the lane, kick it out, shooter, boom. And then you got DeAndre Ayton, who didn't want to be in Phoenix, given that he knows all the talent that he has is not really being represented well because he's not getting the ball unless it's a dump in a pick and roll. But now you got KD, who adds another person to give the ball to. I just don't know a team that has a great big man to defend Ayton, 2 great perimeter defenders to guard Booker and KD, and a good perimeter or a good defender to guard Chris Paul. And people are talking about the depth. Obviously, you lose Cam Johnson, a great shooter. You lose Bridges, who's a great 3-and-D player. But Kevin Durant's a great 3-and-D player. You got Bismack Biyombo. Oh, my God, Bismack Biyombo. Campaign. They have a Jock Lockdale, whatever. A whole bunch of weird people.
Basley now.
Darius Baisley, who we didn't mention. Sorry, King. You just didn't make the role. But they have depth enough. When it comes to the playoffs and everyone's playing 40 minutes a game, KD, Booker, and Ayton are going to be out there, and I don't see many people stopping them. Gun to my head, I had to tell you to put $100 on one team to win the chip. It's got to be the Suns. I don't even have to see how they play. Like we said, Adam, you said it perfectly. He's a mercenary. KD can play with anyone. Just give him the ball, get out the way, and that's really it. And I think the Phoenix Suns are my favorites to win as of today, which is February 9th. So that's kind of it. David, your takes?
Well, first off, my mind was blown. I seeing this go down at 1:00 or at 1:30 a.m. I was shocked. I thought I was having a delirious dream. The return for Brooklyn on this is actually really great. Like I thought the DeJounte Murray trade and the Rudy Gobert trade over the summer, I thought they kind of reset the market and were gonna make it impossible to trade a player of KD's caliber because like what is the return on that gonna be? But you get a defensive player of the year candidate in Mikal Bridges, which is phenomenal return. I thought it was gonna be Ayton, but Ayton doesn't really fit well with Nick Claxton. Cam Johnson, who's a heck of a shooter, and 4 unprotected first rounders is insane. I mean, Phoenix had a treasure trove to trade from, but like 4 unprotected firsts is kind of crazy. But I mean, the main piece of this is KD going back to Phoenix, and wow, talk about a deadly starting 5. It's Chris Paul, who's a hell of a facilitator. He doesn't even need to score. D Book, you know what he could do, 25 to 30 points a night. KD, his resume speaks for itself. 30-point scorer, like night in, night out. They got TJ Warren back in the trade. Like he's a solid pickup. He might come off the bench, but he's a solid 10 to 15 points, and that's important scoring. And DeAndre and guy turns it up in the playoffs. Like I don't know, but this Phoenix Suns team is a team of mid-range maestros, but I don't know if they got the defense to back it up. Now, obviously, the league is all offense now. It's jacking up threes, blah blah blah. They'll outgun pretty much every team in the league, but defense is pretty important. I think Chris Paul's age is starting to show a little bit. D Book was never really rated as a high defender. He's been improving the past couple of years, but he's not going to guard the best defender on the best offensive player on the floor for the other team. KD's coming off an MCL injury. He's had 2 other major lower leg injuries in his career. And Ayton's not really like a phenomenal defender. So, I got question marks on that end. But right now, they're looking like favorites out the West. And it's going to be hard to compete. But, a lot of teams made moves in the West. The West is going to be tightly contested. Seeding is going to be like who knows what. The Kings are 3rd now. They might end up in a play-in. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
No, and you bring up a great point. And honestly, I was so infatuated with just Kevin Durant being on the Suns. I at least didn't really touch up on the Nets return. I think the Nets, Adam, you touched upon it, they killed it. Like I think obviously when you give up 2 top 10, top 15 players in the NBA, you would expect to get a top 10 or 15 NBA player back. But obviously that's not the case. The Nets are obviously going for the future, but you get rid of Kyrie and KD. You get Spencer Dinwiddie, who's a great role player, if not like ascending to like a
2 guy, number 2 man, for sure.
Yeah, number 2 man for sure. Like in this league, you get Dorian Finney-Smith, a great perimeter defender. Now you get Mikal Bridges, who is the perfect guy for a championship team. Great 3-and-D player. He can score 20 if he wants. He will lock up your best player. He can shoot the ball. He can shoot the mid-range. He can do a lot. And he is a great return for this Brooklyn team. Adds to their wing depth. You got Cam Johnson, who is a great shooter to add to this Brooklyn Nets team. I mean, Ben Simmons is set up to win an MVP, if you ask me. Like he's got all the shooters. He's got all the defense. And like you said, I think depending if the Nets play the Sixers and they play well, I could very much see this Sixers team losing to this Nets team. That's my hot take. With all the depth and all the defense that they have, I think they are really matched up well. But 4 first rounders too. I mean, the Suns window is 2-3 years really, because that's if Chris Paul has that. So yeah. Those 4 first round picks will definitely be decent. So I think the Nets got a great return. And ultimately, I think it works out for both teams. The Suns have a top 3 player in the league to win a championship, and then the Nets get a whole bunch of stuff to rebuild.
Yeah. How about the Suns owner, man? New Suns owner comes in 1 day and 2 days on the job and pulls the trigger for KD. That's crazy. That is crazy.
It's insane to know that all this kind of went down. So we talked about obviously 2 big superstars going. Obviously with KD going to Phoenix. and Bridges now going to Brooklyn. Why not bridge the gap from one Nova boy to another? And that's something a little calmer. And that's Josh Hart to the New York Knicks for Cam Reddish and a first rounder. Dave, I'll kind of let you take the reins on this since he was a former Laker. How do we feel about Josh Hart coming to the Knicks? Does he make the Knicks better? Is getting rid of Cam Reddish a mistake? Like, what's your take? Like, did Portland do the right thing here? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Honestly, man, I'm kind of optimistic about the Knicks deadline. They didn't do much, but I didn't think they needed to do much. They didn't really have as many holes as to fix as other teams did. So I feel like a glue guy like Josh Hart, who could kind of do everything. You know, he could give you some buckets. He's not gonna be a top scorer. He's not gonna be your number 2 or your number 3, but he could give you some points. Shoot from outside. He's a hell of a rebounder. 8.2 rebounds a game. That's number 2 for guards in the league. He's gritty on defense. He could guard a few positions. I think it's a great return. Reddish wasn't really a rotational player in New York. Thibodeau wasn't really using him. And the first round pick is protected. The Knicks got a lot of first round picks to trade from, which is weird to say. They haven't had some in recent memory this past decade, but you know, they repiled, they restocked. And I don't think Leon Rose had a lot of work to do. You know, Brunson has been playing much better than expected. I was kind of, thinking he was going to get an all-star berth. But, Randall's playing on an all-star level. The Knicks are looking pretty good. I think, not many people may have had them in the playoff picture, but they're knocking on the door. And, I think Hart is a great addition.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think looking at the Knicks team, it's hard for me because they're really a bunch of inconsistent players, right? And when they're all on, they're amazing. I know we've had so many moments of gambling on certain players, watching certain players, and just seeing them fold. I think Jalen Brunson, he's going to make the All-Star game with so many people sitting out, Jaylen Brown or whoever it is. He'll make it. He's been unbelievable. A 6'1", just shoulder going in, floater, mid-range. He's become almost, I don't want to say Kobe-esque, but like that's like the joke with between us. Like, he's been insane. He doesn't pass the ball anymore. He's just a professional bucket getter. Julius Randle obviously has been great this season. He's definitely turned it around from last season, having a very down year from the year prior when he most improved. And then RJ Barrett's just inconsistent as inconsistent gets. He'll throw up 31 game and then he'll shoot 3 for 36 the next. So obviously I think the Knicks needed, I don't know if they needed defense because they are a pretty good defensive team, but they needed someone that could do both sides of the ball. And Josh Hart is a great defender. He can shoot the ball, and he's a great rebounder at the guard position. Like, I think that's what the Knicks struggled with as well, because if Mitchell Robinson, who always gets in foul trouble, is not in the game, you're relying on Julius Randle to kind of box out everybody. And Josh Hart kind of does that. He's gritty. He's a Nova boy. He's played with Brunson. I think the Knicks front office, Leon Rose, Worldwide West, just kind of want to get Jalen Brunson more help. And why not get him more help than getting a college teammate of his? So I think, like you said, Dave, Cam Reddish, who I think is very talented and can definitely put up numbers in the right situation. I think Thibodeau's, I can almost go to the extent that he's just, his mind is not meant for this current day and age in the NBA. It's almost brain dead-esque that you're running out a 7-man rotation for 40 minutes every single night. It doesn't work. You have people like Obi Toppin, who comes in the game for 10 minutes and scores 10 quick points. Why is he not getting more playing time? So Reddish, I wanted him to leave to get an opportunity. I think in Portland, he'll do good. I don't know how good he'll be because Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, Nurkic, like there's so many people above him. And it's crazy because it almost feels like Portland's almost rebuilding again because Josh Hart is like a playoff contending type player. And he's a perfect fit for the Knicks. And I think he's going to do damage for the Knicks. Is he the reason why the Knicks are going to make it to the second round? Probably not. But it's a good pickup for them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll focus more on the Portland side because we talked a lot about the Knicks. I will say good for Steve Mikhailuk getting traded twice today. Great for him.
The NBA pinball machine.
Yeah, just getting shifted around all over the place. Love Steve Mikhailuk, though. Yeah, the chemistry of the Nova players, that's cool. Yeah, but for Portland, yeah, I'm just confused by what they're doing because they've just been stuck in the same position for like the entirety of Damian Lillard's career. And it seems like every move they make doesn't improve that. For some reason, I would have liked to have seen them maybe get a center and maybe get rid of Nurkic because he can't really stay healthy and he's kind of meh when he's been playing. I think that could have helped them a lot because they have 3 scorers. Like Jeremy Grant is awesome. Anthony Simons can get buckets and dish the ball, and so can Dame is, top 15 player in the NBA. So yeah, I'm just kind of disappointed because they're sitting at just under 500 right now. I don't know. I mean, Josh Hart's a good player for them. I think they did okay in getting someone for him, but I don't know. I'm not really too convinced. I guess they're not going to win the West anywhere this year, but feel like they're wasting Damian Lillard's career, and that's sad. So yeah, that's where I stand on Portland.
Yeah, I like we said, not much, not as big as a move as the other. Would you guys say, if you had to pick, what would you grade this move for both teams? For the Knicks getting Hart and then the Blazers getting Reddish, Dave?
I give the Knicks a solid B+, and I think, Portland is wasting their career. I don't think they're gonna get back to that peak of the conference finals from a few years back. I'd give it a C.
Yeah, I think the Knicks get a B. I don't think it's going to help them that much in the long term. Portland probably gets the C- because I don't see how this help them in any way. The pick's going to be out of the lottery also, so it's fine. Like
I agree. I think it's a B for the Knicks. Helps them, doesn't really impact anything. And then I think Cam Reddish is a good player, but it doesn't help Dame at all. So C- I think is my pick there. But let's see the next move that we're going to trans over to. And it's going to be someone we all talked about. David's Lakers. We talked about my Knicks. Let's talk about, Adam, your San Antonio Spurs with them moving arguably their best player on the roster, Jakob Poeltl, going back to Toronto where they originally drafted him. What's your thoughts on the Spurs shipping him out? Was it the right move? Do you think they got a good return on it? Like, what's your thoughts on it?
We couldn't have done this podcast 8 years ago when the Spurs were NBA champions. No, just right now when they're complete garbage.
We were also 14, and most of the social media didn't really exist.
That's a great point. I think it's good. I like the return. I mean, Kem Birch is fine. Whatever, the picks are good. I think it's really just hoarded picks now. Tank for Wembanyama. That is my only hope. Or Scoot. I would take Scoot also. I think it's great for Toronto. Honestly, I think it's good to get a nice center like that's like Poeltl, not just like a long lanky guy that you can stick at the 3, 4, or 5. So Siakam can go back to playing a little more power forward. They got to keep Anunoby, which I think is awesome. I don't know why they would have traded him. I think it's good that they just gauged interest. So I think Toronto really makes out here. Where are they sitting right now in the standings? They're 10th. They're not going to be there for very long. I could see them moving into a playoff spot pretty easily without the play-in. They'll probably be upper play-in. I think it's a great move for them. Poeltl he's been awesome for the Spurs this year. Double
Mm-hmm.
machine, really making it do with nothing the entire year besides Keldon. I will say Keldon's probably the best player on the team. But it's close, and I think Poeltl is a good pickup for Toronto. I think they did pretty well there.
Yeah, Dave, your take on it?
I think Toronto picking up Poeltl was definitely a huge move. I kind of expected a little more from Toronto, whether they fully buy in or fully sell. But, they needed a big man. They needed a certified center. They keep running guys like Scotty Barnes, like you said, same body types, 6'9" forwards. And, it's interesting and it definitely works. Wings are the way in this current NBA. But I don't know. Fred VanVleet might have been relocated somewhere else. I think, for fit wise, Toronto did well, but I think the Spurs probably made off as winners in this trade for picking up the picks and maximizing the return for Poeltl, who is going to be free agent at the end of the year anyways.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not much to really say. I think this is I think Poeltl almost gives me like Marc Gasol vibes on that championship team run. Obviously, he's not that big of a shooter compared to Marc Gasol at all, but he's definitely a body that's going to go out there, get rebounds, alleviates the stress and pain for Siakam, Scotty Barnes, and OG Anunoby. They'll have 3 great wing defenders now with Poeltl manning down the center. So I think Toronto, they have so much talent. Like, they'll turn it around. I think, like you said, Adam, I don't know how far up in the standings they'll go, but they'll definitely be a threat come playoff time. Like, I don't think the Bucks or the Celtics really want to see them in the first round just because they match up so well defensively. But But ultimately, it's just the Spurs just trying to get capital for their future, and it's really the best that they can do, to be honest, with what they got. So solid trade for both teams. Not much really to go over on that
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah.
Any? Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I'm not sure if we're talking about the Josh Richardson Devontae Graham trade. I think that's another great way to get picks, and I like Devontae Graham also. Yeah, I mean, it's really just a race to the bottom right now with all those teams. Like the Rockets, I'm sure we'll touch on in a little bit, and the Spurs, and not really sure what the Pistons are doing. But yeah, those, everyone's trying to save up all the picks, and I think that's just where it's going to be at. Everyone's going to try to rebuild through the draft.
Yeah, no, it's worth climbing up that hill. Speaking of hills, I want to talk about the next trade that we've kind of got going on, and that's Milwaukee acquiring Jay Crowder from the Brooklyn Nets, because he obviously was in that deal for Kevin Durant. And obviously Jay Crowder, kind of like that lost story where he felt like he was valued a lot more than the Suns were giving him. He lost his spot to Bridges and Cam Johnson and didn't want to play an NBA game till he got to the right fit. And I think Milwaukee is a great fit for him. I think Milwaukee is a 3-and-D kind of team. I think he fits that PJ Tucker role a couple years back well, if not better. He'll guard one of the best players, alleviate that tension for Drew Holiday and Giannis, and he's a spot-up shooter. So I think the Bucks did great here. You give up Serge Ibaka, who is a good player in the league, but obviously he's not getting any minutes in Milwaukee with Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, all these other guys. So sure, you dump that off. And then you lose George Hill, who's another great veteran presence, but you have so many people in Milwaukee, or so many good players. You got Pat Connaughton still, Grayson Allen, who will trip people, Chris Middleton, who's pretty solid. So I think Milwaukee did the right thing. I think they gave up like 5 second-rounders or something like that. You're in your championship window now. Who cares about second-rounders? Good pickup for them. Pretty good deal on my end. Dave?
Yeah, I agree. Crowder, talk about this guy's luck. I mean, this guy bounces around from championship contender to championship contender. He was there with the Heat. He's there with Phoenix. Now he's going to Milwaukee, and they have a pretty darn good shot out in the East. A lot of teams in the East didn't really make too many moves. A lot of the action was definitely out in the West Coast. But, the Crowder is a huge get. I mean, this guy can shoot. This guy can defend multiple positions, multi-positional defenders, and guys who can shoot the three. That's like cake for these NBA teams. They love it. And this guy's beefy. Like, he's a hard guy to move. So, he's going to be good. All that championship experience is going to be good in the locker room. You give off Hill, who's aging, and you give off Ibaka, who's not rotational, like you said. Noora, who, is a little inconsistent for the Bucks standards. It's not bad. Give off the 5 second-rounders. So what? You pick up a guy with championship experience, it's going to help.
Yeah. Honestly, this is one of my 2 favorite trades of the day. I think, like you said, no one in the East really did anything to make themselves better, because everyone in the West was racing to build nuclear missiles. So Milwaukee getting this piece, huge. They're already built to win. They're built even more now, and like you said, he's beefy. So yeah, they'll be pretty set now. Yeah, nothing else to add there. The top 2 favorite trade of the day for sure.
Yeah, and I think it might be arguably the best trade of the day for the East, because like we've been saying, so many teams in the West is building super teams, and we have nobody like the Celtics, the Heat, or the Sixers. Or the Sixers barely doing jack shit. We'll get to that. But Jay Crowder,
they did get a nice pickup, but yeah,
Jay Crowder, a big pickup for them. So good move on them. Going over to something a little calm, probably the best move for the number 1 team out West in the Denver Nuggets was the Lakers trading Thomas Bryant to the Nuggets for just Devon Reed. So, Dave, I'll kind of let you take the reins on this, obviously, being a Lakers fan. In my estimation, like watching Lakers game, Thomas Bryant put up numbers. Like, he was a very solid big man for them. So what do you think the reasoning was getting rid of him, especially to a contender like the Denver Nuggets?
Oh, man, this guy, I thank him because he was, soaking up the minutes when AD was down, and he was holding it down in the trenches. And he's not the best defender, and I guess his fit wasn't great next to AD, and he got a little upset with the minutes restrictions due to just the lack of fit. So I think it just makes sense when there's trouble brewing in the locker room, or not so much trouble, but just a little tension or uneasy feelings. You gotta make the moves, and I think they made a pickup down the road a little better to fill in the 5 spot a little bit to soak up those minutes because AD can't take all that work at the 5. He's made of glass, street clothes, blah blah blah. But I think trading Bryant is a great pickup for the Nuggets. They needed a great number 5 behind Jokic, and it's a solid trade for the Lakers in the sense that it opened up a rotation spot for somebody who wasn't happy there. Did the most he could out of that, and he out played his pay tag because he's definitely going to get more than what he's getting this year, and the Lakers can't afford that. So maximize the value there.
Add your take.
Yeah, no, that's a good point about salary reasons, and like it's clear the Lakers had another plan going on that they were able to execute on later. So I think that was part of it. I'm also like 70% convinced that LeBron sent him away because he was calling for the ball when he hit the record-setting shot. But no, I mean, okay aside, I mean, going for Denver, I think Dave, you touched on LA pretty well. But on Denver's side of things, couldn't have asked for anything better. The bench is the Nuggets' big weak point. They can't score when Jokic isn't in the game. They can't do anything when Jokic isn't in the game. Their numbers are horrendous, which is why Jokic is the MVP again. Like adding a backup center that can score, that can rebound, can't really pass that well, but like he'll be in the game, and you'll know what you'll get from him, and definitely an upgrade over a JaVale McGee or DeAndre Jordan, who's there right now. So yeah, I think it's a great pickup for them. Backup center was probably the biggest need they had, and yeah, I think they're even more poised now to compete really hard in the West. So it's completely wide open, but yeah.
No, and I agree. I think obviously they lack that big man to back up Jokic, and it's so hard to back up Jokic. Is Thomas Bryant that guy to back him up? Obviously, you get what you get, right? Like he can score 10, he can rebound 10. He's gritty, he's physical, he will box out. If he comes in there, plays 25 minutes a game, I think he'll get the job done. And to give up Devon Reed, who really didn't even get that many minutes for the Nuggets, anyways, I think works out for both teams. LeBron has Devon Reed, so when LeBron doesn't win the chip, they're like 10 years from now, they're gonna be like, LeBron was carrying people like Devon Reed. You know what I mean? So that just adds to LeBron.
Hey, no disrespect for Devon Reed, bro. Yeah, no disrespect to Devon Reed, though. He's been around.
He cooked the Lakers last year in the game. I remember that.
That's probably why they traded for him. To be honest.
Yeah, they didn't want that to happen again. Yeah. So just segueing over, I don't really have anything clever this time. I think a big move for Portland that we're going to talk about. Obviously, we had some questionable decisions there. They add Matisse Thybulle. The Sixers get rid of arguably one of their best defenders to Portland. They get this young player in Jalen McDaniels to Philly. So, Adam, I'll let you take the reins on it. How do you feel like this helps out Portland? How do you feel like this helps out the Sixers? Did either team really improve? And what direction do you see both these teams going in?
Yeah, I think Philly improved. I don't think Portland did. I think Portland just found someone to replace Josh Hart, who isn't as good of a shooter. He's a better defender, even though Josh Hart's a pretty good defender in his own right. So yeah, like I said, I'm not very happy with Portland right now, just in what they've been doing. I feel like I've watched a lot of Portland basketball, and I don't know how Thybulle, kind of comes in and makes their situation better. McDaniels to Philly, I think it's pretty solid. Why not take a shot there? Thybulle's not getting any minutes. He's not doing anything for your offense. You're already a pretty good defensive team. Guy that can come in and maybe give a spark. I don't know how many minutes he's going to get, what the rotation is going to be like with him there. But yeah, I think it's way more upside for Philly. And Thybulle's just kind of been sitting there for a while. So yeah, I think it totally makes sense for them. Portland, I think, just was trying to do something, and it didn't really work out. I don't know. That's not my favorite move for them.
Yeah, Dave?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Portland, I don't know what they're doing. Philly, I think it's a good move. You trade a 3-and-D wing with no 3 for a 3-and-D wing with a 3. So I think they make off pretty well in this trade. Thybulle, great defender. Probably, like, if you look at just the advanced stats, he might be the best defender in the league, but he doesn't get the minutes to get the Defensive Player of the Year credit or makes such an impact because his offense just craters the Philly offense. So, Philly probably made off well here, and Portland, I don't understand what they're doing. They're, like you said earlier, wasting Dame's prime. I feel bad for my boy because he is like my favorite player in the league.
Yeah, it's interesting because you get rid of Josh Hart, who's honestly better than McDaniels and Thibault to me. I think if I had 50 pounds of muscle, Thibault would not score an NBA bucket on me. And I genuinely mean that. The guy can't do shit. He can't pull up jumper, can't hit an open three. He could dunk the ball, so maybe he could dunk on me. But obviously, he's a great defender. He'll probably play 20 minutes in the game. They'll probably just Chauncey will probably throw him out there to stop the best player. Sure. I think it's just more so like, Dame, look, we did something for you. We do care. When in actuality, it's really nothing. Good for Philly. They get another young player. Probably going to be a backup player or a backup rotation man with Tyrese Maxey, who's now coming off the bench. So good for the Sixers. I don't think it's as good of a move as Jay Crowder to Milwaukee because I think Jay Crowder is going to be a bigger player in terms of impact. But ultimately, Portland, once again, I almost think this move is a D, to be honest, because you're replacing Hart for Thibault, who is such a one-dimensional player. And DeJounte Murray said it in like the All the Smoke podcast, like play defense to earn minutes in the game, but Thibault is so lacking in offense that I don't see him really getting that many minutes there. Maybe he proves me wrong, but good for Philly, not so good for Portland. So yeah, any final thoughts on this?
I just don't think we'll have any Trailblazers fans being a fan of the podcast after today. That's all I'm going to say.
And to be honest, I don't think there's many Trailblazers fans to start with. Anyway,
that's a good point.
So, speaking about a team with a lot of fans, let's talk about the Charlotte Hornets trading their prime centerpiece cornerstone and lefty Mr. Shooter Mason Plumlee to the Clippers for Reggie Jackson. The Clippers making a lot of moves, which we'll touch on after this. Are you guys shocked with them getting rid of Reggie Jackson? I think I'll kind of lead it off because I'm shocked because I just saw the Clippers play in Cleveland. We'll talk about another situation with the Clippers because John Wall will get there. But Reggie Jackson was a centerpiece for this team. He was a bucket getter. He was somebody that you can rely on. He was a good player. So for me to see them get rid of him for Mason Plumlee, who I will say is actually having a really good year. Obviously, he's playing in Charlotte. Nobody cares. But dude is putting up like 10, like 7, and like 3 assists. Like he's a good player that's going to be a good backup man for Zubac. I think that's what they wanted. And I didn't really have it as a banner here, but I think the reason why they got rid of Reggie is they made that trade with Denver to get Bones Highland, which, like I said, I didn't make a segment, but Bones Highland is a great pickup for the Clippers. Bones Highland is young. He's shifty. He can shoot the ball. He could create his own shot. So I think ultimately the Clippers got rid of Reggie Jackson, who is getting old, for Bones Highland and a great centerpiece in Plumlee. I don't know what the fuck the Hornets are doing. You have Terry Rozier. You have LaMelo Ball. Why would you trade for Reggie Jackson? But obviously they have no direction, so whatever. But good for the Clippers making that move to get Bones Highland. And honestly, Mason Plumlee.
Are they buying Reggie out? They are, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. He doesn't want to play there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll go. I combine this with the Bones Highland move, and the Clippers are my team of the day. I think they made the best moves. I mean, obviously taking KD out and Kyrie out of the mix because, like, superstars. This is my favorite move of the day. Getting Plumlee. He's averaging basically a double-double right now. 12 points, 9.7 rebounds. That is,
there you go, yeah.
Absurd. And almost 4 assists. Like that's very good numbers from a center that you don't expect to be your primary option. And then now he's going to come in and be your backup to Zubac, who doesn't have the assist numbers, but has numbers very similar to those. Like that's great. Reggie with Bones Highland coming in, Terrence Mann's playing pretty well. He's not going to start. You don't even really need him to be your backup. I mean, he's a good like common presence, I suppose. But yeah, I think Bones is going to be able to shine more than he was in Denver. I think he'll be happy to be out of that situation. So I think it's all looking up for the Clippers. I think they have made themselves real contenders today and over the last couple of days. I A+ for me on this trade. Honestly, I think Plumlee will, and combining that with Bones also, I think they'll have a pretty big impact in LA for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Mason Plumlee getting top 10 center love from Adam.
No, top 10. Wait. He's going to be a backup center on the Clippers. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
But
So at least he's top 2 on the team.
exactly, top 2 on the team. There you go.
That's pretty solid to me. But go ahead, Dave.
I think it was an interesting move. Definitely as the day was unfolding, you see the Clippers trading, as you already said, John Wall and Reggie Jackson. You see, whoa, where's the point guards on the offense? Like, what's going on here? They make a pickup for Bones, and yeah, great young player. You know, I don't know why the Nuggets, like, he fell out of the rotation and they traded him away. It just didn't make sense because that guy was a microwave whenever he got on the floor for them. Great backup minutes for Jamal Murray. It just didn't make sense. But Reggie Jackson probably gonna get bought out. Lakers, I'm looking at you. Get some intel on the Clippers because the Clippers have our number. And Plumlee, yeah, he's a solid big. I thought he was gonna be out of the NBA just because this type of game doesn't really fit this type of the league game now. But he's averaging close to a double-double. He's pretty solid minutes. I think it's a good trade for the Clippers. They add to their depth. Good move.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for what the Clippers did today, a lot of great moves, starting with Bones Hyland and Plumlee. But before we get into the next trade, my phone is ringing because I got the hose calling. In other words, that's actually just another sign for Mo Bamba, another big blockbuster trade in a sense for the Los Angeles Lakers, who makes sense to why they got Thomas Bryant because they got Mo Bamba. Before we get into Mo Bamba, I just want to say Pat Bev is the most hilarious person in the NBA. Obviously, shout out Pat Bev's pod. Oh my God, he will never listen to this, but he was talking about in his podcast saying like, oh, I'm untouchable. The Lakers won't get rid of me. And once again, the Westbrook thing happens to Pat Bev. He literally goes to a team every single year. They shipped him out to Orlando, and he literally posted a tweet congratulating D'Lo, saying, back with my brother, just to be shipped out 5 hours later. So Pat Bev is going to Orlando, which more than likely not, he's probably going to get bought out. I will say Pat Bev leaving the Lakers obviously takes away from that pesky, like, annoying presence that can guard someone. Is Pat Bev an elite defender? I don't give a, like, no, he's not. Like, he's a good defender because he's annoying, but he's not going to lock up the best player. There's so many times in the playoff career where so many players just expose Pat Bev, but he's got that heart, which I respect. I mean, how can we forget the infamous take the shirt off Minnesota? Like, like he had his moment. But the Lakers picking up Mo Bamba is great. Mo Bamba is a great 3-and-D center. Like, he's not going to guard the perimeter, but he's a great interior defender. I think he's shooting like 36 or 37% from the three this season. Like, he's exactly what LeBron needs. Is he Kevin Love? No, but he's got that like archetype. He can shoot from the corners. He can hit a three. He can score, and he will defend the paint. Mo Bamba, great pickup. I think he is way better than Pat Bev anyways. So the Lakers just continuing to add depth, which is what they needed. They needed shooting, defense, and depth, like we said earlier. And with Mo Bamba, Beasley, D'Lo, and all these guys, I think they had a great deadline, and they gave up fucking nothing. So I don't think the Lakers are gonna, maybe they make it to the second round somehow, but this is what they needed to give LeBron and AD faith that, hey, we have a shot at making the title. So great move for the Lakers. Pat Bev is going to get bought out and probably go to Milwaukee, like, play with Giannis or something. So good move for the Lakers. Dave?
Oh, yeah, excellent move, man. We needed somebody at that 5 spot. This guy can shoot. This guy can defend. Obviously, he hasn't been getting the minutes and the love out in Orlando. They have a lot of people at the forward position, at the center. So they've been trying out a lot of people at that 4 or 5. So Mo Bamba never got his shine out there. But here with the Lakers, I think he can have a big role. I think he's going to help right away. And Pat Bev, he wasn't shooting the threes so well this year. He was probably our best 3-point shooter, which is sad to say. And he's got a lot of heart on defense. He's got a lot of effort. Sometimes he just knows what to do to rile up the team, and that's just what you need. Like when he showed the camera when LeBron got slapped on the forearm by Tatum. Like, he does the things with heart, and he'll take a tech. He doesn't care. Sometimes, it riles up the team and gives them energy. So I think Pat Bev, whatever team that he goes on after the buyout, expected buyout, is gonna get a good piece. But Mo Bamba going to the Lakers definitely fills the need, and it's great. Gonna look great next to LeBron. Like clear a spot in the rafters for his jersey because it's gonna be retired someday.
He's more likely to be retired for the Sheck West song, to be honest with you. But yeah, I actually like the trade too. I think Orlando had a lot of decisions to make. They have a ton of big men that fill out very similar player profiles, and they had to move one. And I guess they went for the guys they have, Jonathan Isaac and Paolo and, all those other big men, which is fine. Bol. So I think that's good. They made their decision. That's cool. I think it's a great piece for the Lakers. I think that his defensive prowess is something where Thomas Bryant was lacking, and he can still score on the offensive side too. Plus, he's still so young. Like who knows where that goes. So I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world just to take a shot on the guy. He has the height to match Anthony Davis when he comes off the bench. So yeah, and, I think all these moves. I think this is the last Laker trade that we're talking about. So I think the Lakers did get better. I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron, plays like LeBron does, and if Anthony Davis is healthy, because he never is, but if he is, the Lakers could make some noise in the playoffs. I think the West is super wide open. Will they win? No. But does this make them a lot better? Do all their moves combined make them a lot better? For sure. And I wouldn't mind seeing Pat Bev stay in Orlando. Could be a nice veteran presence. A lot of young guys there. Could inspire. I think I've watched a lot of Magic basketball too. And yeah, I think they need something like that to just kind of motivate them and keep them going, because they have a lot of young talent that they're just not going to know what to do with. But yeah, overall, good trade for both sides.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pat Bev would be a good fit there just because you got Franz Wagner, you got Banchero, Wendell Carter. The list goes on and on. Like you got Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, and then they're probably gonna have a top 5 pick again. So the more the merrier. So why not have Pat Bev, who clearly knows what he's talking about, lead this team to the promised land once again?
Why not?
So yeah, so a pretty simple trade there. Another trade that's kind of not simple. I don't really have a good segue to it. Leaves a lot of question marks in some aspects. Is going to be the three-team deal between Detroit, ATL, Golden State, and Portland. It was like a 4-team deal, whatever. Wiseman ends up going to Detroit. Sadiq Bey ends up going to Atlanta. And Gary Payton ends up going to the Warriors. And Adam, I'll kind of let you take your reign on it because you mentioned earlier on the podcast with some thoughts with Detroit. Who are the winners here? What are your perspectives on these teams? Did anyone get better, worse? What's your take?
Is it possible to have no winners here? I don't know if there are any. I mean, I think Detroit maybe does win if Wiseman pans out, and it can't hurt to take a shot. If I'm Golden State, I feel like the market couldn't have been that bad that you got just a bunch of second-round picks for him. I think Sadiq Bey might have even been better than those second-round picks. But good for him going to Atlanta, I guess. Yeah, but Detroit just has so many centers now. They have 8 centers on their roster, something like that, and I don't think it's 8. 8 would be a lot, but it could be, because I wouldn't be surprised. So I guess they're just taking their shot with it, similar to what Orlando's doing, and they'll have a ton of draft capital. Detroit's just pretty irrelevant right now. Like there's nothing that can save them for the next 5 years, in my opinion, unless Cade Cunningham is the best recruiter on the planet. Golden State, pretty disappointed in them too. I thought they would go for a bigger move to try to boost up, because Steph will probably be pretty rested for the playoffs, assuming they get there. I mean, I was sad the Glove Junior, what is he called? The Mitten? Something like that.
The glove.
No, he was his dad was the Glove.
Right.
And he's now like the Mitten or something like that. Because he's whatever.
Yeah.
I liked him in Golden State. I think he fits well there. I'm glad to see him back. That's really the only positive I can take out of this trade. Good for Golden State shifting those second-round picks, because those are pretty meaningless too. Yeah, overall, kind of a stinker for me. I think if Wiseman pans out, which he's still so young, and he very well could. But other than that, yeah, I don't really have many good things to say about this trade.
Dave, I'll let you take it away.
I got a couple good things to say. I guess the Atlanta picks up a rangy wing who got a solid 3-and-D potential, but they got guys like Bogdanovich and DeAndre Hunter and John Collins soaking up a lot of minutes already. So I don't know how big of a role Sadiq Bey is going to carve out there. But GP2, Peyton, that guy has history with the Warriors. He knows how to play there. He was comfortable in that system. Limited run of success during that championship run. I think he's going to help out. a little bit odd because I think they got a lot of guards down there, but good potential move that he already has a fit on that team. And Detroit picking up that center, that was wise, man. A corny pun aside, I think
I applaud that. That was gold. I'm sorry. Continue.
I think they got a lot of centers, a lot of experimental centers. Like, I don't know, Jalen Duren is interesting. They got Marvin Bagley was a big guy. He could play the 4, the 5. But Wiseman, former number 2 pick. He was highly regarded coming out of high school, highly regarded coming out the
College.
gap year because he played a few years at a few games at Memphis.
Yep.
He's a solid prospect. Too early to give up on him, but didn't really fit the Warriors window. So, Detroit taking a flyer can't hurt. They're not really shooting for anything this year. If he doesn't play well, they get closer to the lottery pick. And,
to kind of continue on that, I don't think it was very wise of them to go for James Wiseman. I think Jalen Duren is miles above better. I think Detroit just kind of has a boner for failed second overall picks. I mean, you have Bagley, you got Wiseman now. So, I mean, you have Milicic. Like, they just love him. But you got Beep Stew. You have so many big men there. I don't know why you go for
Beep Stew.
Yeah, Sadiq Bey is pretty good, but obviously Detroit is rebuilding. Sadiq Bey is a young piece. Wiseman fits the window of all these young players. I mean, Detroit has, very similar to Orlando, a lot of good pieces. You got Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Marvin Bagley, James Wiseman, Jalen Duren, who's pretty good. Like, they have a lot. Killian Hayes, who honestly is having a really good, underrated season, especially for him being considered a bust. Like, they have the pieces. Obviously, they have Bojan, which I'm still surprised they did not trade. They would have gotten a lot out of him, especially from like the Lakers or even the Warriors. Like, I'm surprised the Warriors didn't go get him, especially with all these trades happening in the West. So good for Detroit. It doesn't hurt. Like, you gave up pennies for him. Obviously, you lose Sadiq Bey, but he wasn't staying in Detroit anyways. So why not take the experiment? I already saw that they confirmed Wiseman is the starting center now. Yeah. So we'll see how that pans out. Gary Payton goes back to the Warriors. Good fit. The Warriors lack defense. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. And Gary Payton goes in there, plays the defense. I'm still very down on the Warriors. I mean, KD goes Kyrie. All these people are getting acquisitions. And you don't, go get OG Anunoby or whatnot. Like, this Warriors team, I don't know. Draymond Green, Wiggins, Clay, and Curry, I don't think can match up against the other teams. And I think the Clippers are probably better than them. Obviously, you have Jordan Poole too. So they have the offense. The defense is what scares me. And then ATL gets a good small forward. I think that the DeJounte Murray acquisition didn't really pan out, or it's not panning out this season. Him and Trae Young really don't work well. So I don't know. It's an okay move. Like, Sadiq Bey is solid. I am very in agreement with you, Adam. I don't really see any winners here. Honestly, I think Detroit's probably the biggest winner because best case, Wiseman is a fucking stud.
Exactly.
And that's kind of really it. Any final thoughts on this deal?
I will say we mentioned Bojan, which was a great point because I totally expect him to be traded today. John Collins, same lines.
Yeah.
He's been on the trade block for his entire career for the last 6 years. He's been in the NBA. Surprised he stayed put too. I guess no one really wants him. So really surprised about Bojan though. Bojan.
Yeah.
How we say it. Yeah.
To kind of wind up the trade deadline in terms of acquisitions before we really go into our winners, losers, and whatnot. This move reigns true to me because there was a wall just blocking between me and this player, and that's going to be John Wall. To the podcast, funny story. I went to Cleveland, saw a Clipper game against the Cavs, sitting courtside, saw John Wall. I'm like, oh my God, John Wall, can I get a photo? He's like, why are you saying my name like that? So I was like, wait, what? Can I get a photo? He's like, nah, bro. So fuck you, John Wall. You got what was coming to you. You were honestly one of the best players in the East in your prime. Like, great player, great two-way guard. Hall of Fame career for sure, and when you were healthy, especially in college and high school. But the Basketball Hall of Fame, it's like walking through a door. Anybody gets about in. But But yeah, you go back to Houston, which you were just shitting on and all the smoke the other day, like, oh, Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., blah, blah, blah. Well, now you're going to go be a nice veteran and go teach them the ropes of the NBA because you just got shipped off. The Clippers get Eric Gordon, which is a great pickup. He's going back to the Clippers, which they need a great shooter. The Clippers continue to get great. They give up Kennard, who I kind of say I mimic in terms of basketball, lefty shooter. So seeing him leave sucks. But going to the Grizzlies, good pickup for Ja. Good pickup for those guys. I mean, he will fit right in as a shooter because the Grizzlies don't really have a shooter besides Desmond Bane, but Desmond Bane can clearly go like 3 for 30 in one night as well. So a good consistent shooter for Ja and those boys. I think it works out for all the teams. We kind of touched upon it earlier. I don't know what Houston's doing. You have all this young talent. They're not really getting draft capital as much either. So yeah, fuck you, John Wall. You deserve to go to Houston, get bought out. I hope no one signs you. Eric Gordon, great pickup, and then Luke Kennard is a great pickup for the Grizzlies. David, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, of course, any other instance, I'd be like free John Wall, but yeah, you fucked up my boy Rizzo. You ain't give him the autograph. Kind of deserve to go back to Houston. Bye-bye. Clippers, phenomenal pickup in Eric Gordon. That guy's been getting buckets since day one. I remember a game winner like 8 years back against the Lakers, broke my heart. I was like, God damn, it was just a regular season, but still, I felt that loss. Eric Gordon, guy can get buckets. So that helps the Clippers a lot, especially in the playoffs when you need guys who can score. Kennard going to the Grizz, great move. He's a good shooter. You know, Dylan Brooks kind of inconsistent. Bane.
Oh, he's the worst. Sorry.
But yeah, Dylan Brooks is terrible. But Houston, I just don't know what they did this trade deadline, man. You pick up Danny Green, you pick up John Wall. Like, if you're trading off Eric Gordon, like I expect either a lot of picks or some young players coming back. I just don't know what they did this trade deadline. Like Houston, to me,
I think they're just 10 years late. That's all. I think they don't realize that it's 2013. So
10 years.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually disagree with both of you on some points, not all of them. John Wall, yeah, I mean that was just the Clippers dumping, and John Wall, he's going to get bought out by Houston. It would be hilarious if they made him stay on the roster because that would just be like objectively funny. Eric Gordon, I think the Clippers are the winner of this trade just because I think he's good enough that he can still contribute off the bench for sure and get you a couple threes a night, and that's kind of what they need. They don't need him to do anything else, so I think that's good fit there. Kennard's, I don't really think the Grizzlies win there. I think he hasn't been very good. Maybe they'll unlock him again. I mean, he's playing 20 minutes a game and he's averaging 8 points. Not great. He's averaging less than 2 threes a game, which is something you would expect more considering he only really takes threes. So I'm not super high on Kennard. I mean, Danny Green wasn't going to be doing anything either, unfortunately, because I love Danny Green. But I just think he's a little past his prime now. But yeah, I don't know how many. All right, he had a prime. He set the NBA Finals record for 3-pointers. All right, he had a prime. It wasn't that long, but he had a prime. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I think Houston is set from the Harden trade. They have the Nets first round picks for the next couple of years. The Nets might be good. They probably won't be long term. So I think they'll be okay there. I think they're just stockpiling picks also. I don't think this move is super relevant to them. They're just kind of like a facilitator now until they become good. And yeah, I think Clippers are the clear winner. Grizz lose and John Wall loses somehow also. Yeah, for sure.
He's a loser the whole deadline, and I hope he knows that. I'll personally send this.
At least he didn't get traded twice.
Yeah, that's also true. But I'm gonna clip this and send it to his DMs with the picture that I took of him, so he knows. Yeah, so that's pretty much everything that we talked about in terms of all the trades. We kind of gave our thoughts on it and all that stuff. To really wrap up everything, I kind of want to go one by one, really just talk about our winners of the trade deadline, our losers, the biggest shocker to you guys that happened, and kind of the biggest disappointment. So, David, I'll kind of let you take the reins. You just go through all 4. Just take it away.
Sheesh, lots to unpack here. Well, I think the winners are GM job security. I'm looking at you, Rob Pelinka, and Sean Marks. You guys pulled off moves that might have saved the skin off your ass because the seat was hot if you guys didn't make the moves. Like, if you only traded Kyrie, and didn't make moves to make the team better around KD or ship off KD, then what are the Nets doing? And if the Lakers didn't get the pieces that they needed to acquire to make a finals run or a championship run or a playoff run, what have you, a run at the play-in, sheesh. Like, then people were going to come for Pelinka's head. So I think GM job security wins out here. I think the LA teams are huge winners. And I think KD is a huge winner. He made off as a winner here because he went to where he wanted to go, which is Phoenix. And it's an immediate championship contender. Like, great pieces all around him. So I think he makes off as a winner. My losers, I'm going to have to go Houston. I didn't really understand what they were doing this deadline. I'm not too big a fan of Toronto's moves. I think teams have kind of figured them out. They've always been that kind of feisty team that somehow makes it to a 4 seed or 2 seed or 5 seed when they didn't have Kawhi. I'm just like, what's Toronto doing? But they're a good team. Nick Nurse is a good coach, but I don't know. I don't know if this team is gonna go anywhere. I think you kind of have to build around Siakam and Scotty Barnes, or I don't know, just head a different direction. But they got a lot of good pieces. My biggest shocker for sure, the KD trade. But aside from that, the Lakers making as many moves as they did was kind of a bit of a shocker. I was expecting some moves, but filling out the needs that they needed to fill out was a big shocker. My biggest disappointment, with so much activity going on, I don't think I can say I can be disappointed. I've been far more disappointed with past trade deadlines these past 5 years, but I don't know. This was so explosive. If I have to say one, it's just the lack of activity on the East. But aside from that, it was a great deadline.
Yeah, Adam, I'll let you do your take, and then I'll close it off.
Yeah, I actually think the East is the big winner. The Eastern Conference is the big winner of this trade deadline day. You have two top 10 players in the NBA getting traded out west, and then everyone in the West decides, all right, now we have to match that, so let's go trade for everyone from the East. So then you have your teams, like you have Boston made one calm move, Mike Muscala, pretty solid. Boston's a pretty perfectly constructed team already, so they really just needed some big man depth because their big guys were frail. Mike Muscala does that. He can also shoot, so space the floor, let Tatum and Brown come inside more. We didn't really talk about Boston at all. They're still my favorite to win the finals. I don't think anything changed there. And the Bucks also, two big teams in the East that are winners just because everyone else made moves and got worse. Obviously, I think the LA teams also, we've talked about that a bunch, are pretty big winners there. And I also think the Nuggets are a winner. They made a good move to solidify their spot at the top of the West. Losers, I would say Portland. I don't think they won any deal that they made. I'm not going to go with some of the crappy teams just because they're more just sellers and kind of helping the market a little. I would say the Warriors are losers, but I think I'll save them more for my biggest disappointment. I'll go Portland as my biggest loser. Biggest shocker, obviously the KD trade. But besides that, I think it will be Toronto doing what they did. I expected them to go one way or the other. And I think, Dave, you made a good point there. I do love that they brought in Pirtle, and I think they can advance well in the playoffs with him and with the team they have constructed. But they might have had to do something bigger to be a better team. And if they were going to sell, they have a lot of stuff to sell. I think they'll be a seller during the summer, and I think they'll get a lot of good return. And then biggest disappointment, I'm going to say the Warriors. I think they didn't do enough that's going to take them back to championship level like they were last year. Because we know their guys are going to show up in crunch time in the playoffs. And they probably just needed one more piece. I know it's tough because they have to pay everyone. And their salary, they're like $1 gazillion over the salary cap. But wouldn't have been bad to take a rental on someone, maybe a big, I don't know, or get KD back. Who says? But yeah, that's pretty much where I stand. I think it was an awesome day. I think the Celtics are still my favorite to win. The Suns should win, but I don't think they're going to. And yeah, it was a great day.
Yeah, I'll kind of take the reins on my takes. I think we're all kind of similar in a bit. I think for once in a trade deadline, I don't want to be boring, but I have a lot of winners, right? I'll just kind of list through them like really quickly, and then I'll kind of say who I think won overall. Obviously, the Suns getting Kevin Durant. you get a top 3 player in the NBA, you are one of the championship favorites. Both LA teams, I mean, the Lakers get depth, they get shooting, they get defense, helps out LeBron, and they only really give up Westbrook and Pat Bev. The Clippers obviously get more bench depth, and they honestly just kind of get a lot better with Bones Highland, Plumlee, Eric Gordon. So good on them. What else? I mean, the Nets. I think the Nets are huge winners in a sense. Like you're shifting your whole franchise in 48 hours, 72 hours, and you get picks that you lost from getting Harden and all these guys, and you get Mikal Bridges, Johnson, Dinwiddie. You get good pieces. So they win in the sense for their scenario. And then I think Milwaukee's a big winner. They didn't do much, but they got a great player that will help them in their championship run. Losers, I think the big losers are the 2 contenders, and honestly the contenders out west. I think the Warriors not doing anything with all the young pieces they have. You got the Cum Bucket, you got Moses Moody, you got all these young guys, and go out there and get a rental. The Grizzlies really didn't do anything, and I don't think their team is constructed at all. You get Luka and Kyrie, but there's so many better players than the Grizzlies. Ja, you should be worried. The West is no longer easy. Yeah. I think the Kings, I think the Kings are also losers because they did nothing. Do we think they're going to win the finals? No, but all these guys are making moves. Go get somebody. And then honestly, the Pelicans, the Pelicans were the number 1 seed in the West. They were dead silent, and they're falling off pretty heavy.
They got Josh Richardson.
Yeah, you're right. My bad. He's gonna provide that spark for.
He's good.
Zion. He's all right. He'll do the job. But I think those 3 or those 4 teams out west definitely are the biggest losers. Biggest shocker, obviously, is Reggie Jackson being traded for Mason Plumlee. I could not believe that happened. No, on the serious note, obviously it's KD. Obviously, I did not expect KD to get traded at all. I will say I'm very glad that I got to witness KD, Kyrie, and Harden play a couple of games here in Brooklyn because he is one of the most talented players that this game's ever seen. Good for him. And then the biggest disappointment, honestly, I'm going to take a different approach. I'm shocked that a lot of the players we expected to get traded didn't. Like Bojan didn't get traded. OG Anunoby didn't get traded. John Collins didn't get traded. I feel a lot of the names that were being speculated around the league that were supposed to get traded didn't. Obviously, that was overshadowed because Kyrie and KD got traded. But I'm surprised the guys that we should have seen get traded didn't. So I think that's kind of my biggest disappointment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, obviously, it's been a great show so far. We're almost about 90 minutes in. Any final thoughts of the trade deadline that you guys kind of want to just let know about the RizPod? Doesn't even have to be the deadline. Just kind of any final thoughts. Dave, I'll let you kind of take it away.
I mean, sheesh, the trade deadline was great. A lot of activity. As a Laker fan, happy. As a basketball fan, happy. I hope all these new faces succeed. Except you, John Wall. Fuck you. But, any other thoughts? I mean, the All-Star game's coming up. It's going to be interesting to see that. But, it's kind of being overshadowed by the Super Bowl and a lot of other events going on around the league. So I'm pretty satisfied with where basketball's been this past week.
John Wall's totally going to see this episode, man. He's coming for all of us. I just want to let it be. I didn't speak that poorly about John Wall. I did his dance all the time. Yeah, there you go. Big winner today, Woj. Woj is back. He's back. That's my big take here. He saw the competition from Shams coming. He he was up against it. Woj bombs were dropping. I was asleep when a Woj bomb dropped, man. That doesn't usually happen. Like he was on his game. Yeah, Woj is back. There we go. That's what I like to see.
Hey, Shams God, you gotta take back that Riz God name because that's my guy. He had that trademark for a while. Unless you want to get sued for copyright infringement.
It's true. Yeah, I am the Riz God.
Get him on the RizPod, and then we could talk.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to DM him just to know that who was the OG originator.
Exactly, that's what we need. Yeah, and I think that the Celtics are still going to win the finals. That's my one takeaway. I don't think that changed much.
Go Lakers.
Yeah, no, it was a great trade deadline. I think one of the best, if not ever, at least in the last 5 to 10 years that I can remember. A lot of superstars going. Brooklyn's in shambles. Rip KD, Kyrie winning a championship here. But the future relies on Ben Simmons. Can't wait to see him start averaging a triple-double. I'm excited for Luka because he's going to win the chip this year with Kyrie out there. But yeah, a lot of great things. I'm very happy that we were able to do this. Love you guys. We've been friends for God knows how long. So I'm happy that I had you guys on the pod. John Wall, you, my friend, I'm going to get you on the podcast so we can settle our differences, mister. But with that being said, thank you to everyone that's listening on episode 6 of the podcast. With that being said, it's your boy, the man, the myth, the legend, RizPod, signing out for episode 6 of the RizPod. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Riz.